What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, joined by a very special guest, Packer Reports Ross Uglem. On his birthday, the Packers give him a gift. How are you, Ross?
I'm doing well, man. I've got Jacob Morley here from the Green Bay Draft Guide, and we're just kind of processing last night, and then um, this is my favorite day of the draft, just because number one, there's so many picks, and number two, like Thursday and Friday is a lot of stress. They're long days because number one, they start at 7 and 6 p.m. Central, respectively, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but Green Bay is good. And so they don't pick early. Like there's not
Right.
when you've gotten there, you haven't really gotten there because you're still in for an hour and 45 minutes before your team does something. So
I love it. Well, the Packers start off with a bang today on day 3 with Barryn Sorrell, the defensive end out of Texas. And this is a guy you and I had kind of gone back and forth with about a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago, I want to say. I think it's pretty impressive that uh, all the kind of gnashing of teeth, and I'm sure you've seen this online quite a bit from the fan base about, okay, it's all offense. Where's the defense? They need some help. You heard Brian Gutekunst asked last night, what about your pass rush? Well, this is the beginning of, okay, here's a little help for the pass rush.
yeah, Sorrell's interesting. So I don't want to like make the whole thing about me, but just
go ahead. It's your birthday.
No, but just explain like my process. So I cover the Green Bay Packers for Packer Report. I watch breakdown film. I do these things like during the season. I don't have the time in the day. I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. I don't have the time in the day to watch most draft prospects until Green Bay is eliminated from the playoffs.
Right.
I just don't. So the way I do it is I take a couple of big boards of people that I trust. I throw 200 names and I watch 3 games of everybody. And I kind of start to build out a board. And then I get to like 150. Then I start watching 3 games of guys that maybe weren't on my first board. And then, continuing on kind of down the line. And I am legitimately working on stuff up until the draft because like that's how long it takes. I'd love to have 10 games watched of the top 100. I'd love to have 5 games watched of the top 150. Like Evan Williams, a perfect example last year. I watched 3 games of Evan Williams. And I know that he was a pretty big reach based on consensus anyway. So it wasn't just me. But my Evan Williams take was admittedly not a great take because it was based on 3 games because consensus had him in the 220s. So I watched 3 games. And Sorrell, the reason I'm rambling on about all this is Sorrell was a guy that was around 5, round 6 grade from some, I don't know where he is on the consensus board, but I tweeted it out because we share kind of analysis between three groups of like scouting crews, the Kansas City folks, the Indianapolis guy, and the Green Bay folks. The 3 of us are kind of the brain power behind each guide. Now, each guide is then individualized to the Packers, the Chiefs, and the Colts.
Sure.
But that group of like think tank is kind of how we get to where we get to. And I finally just threw in the chat, like, who has pass rushers? Because it wasn't me. I did corners. And then the tweet that's out there is, why am I not putting a round 3 on Barryn Sorrell? And then he and I kind of went back and forth, and that's so hard to get. And then I just kept watching game after game, and I talked to you about it, and I talked to Justice about it, and I was like, man, this makes no sense. This is a 50 pressure, 9.3 RAS, not hilariously undersized, not like their archetype, but it's
right. I was going to say not their classic big guy on the edge, but certainly big enough to hold up. Right.
It's not wrong. He's a 50 pressure 7 sack guy from Texas. Right. They have their own network. This guy does not play at Middle Tennessee State. This guy isn't from Northern Iowa. He's a 50 pressure 9.3 RAS guy from Texas. What is happening right now? And here we are.
I mean, the thing is what we talked about, kind of a little bit when you kind of put the initial kind of film, like you said, I get into this guy late. I think I'm falling in love late. Yes. That's, to me, I was not aware of him at all until Mark Oldacres had him in our final kind of predictions article as far as who he thought the Packers would take, and now they have taken him. Man, that's when I first started watching him, and I'm with you. I thought, wait, how is this guy like basically lining up in most consensus like a late day 3 pick? I see a guy who wins and has, Obviously he's going to need refinement. It's a projection. It always is. But, man, you talk about a guy who has tools, like, it has a plan when he's rushing the passer. It's not, okay, I'm just going to overpower you. It's not, I have blazing speed, I'm going to run by you. This is a guy who has, like, a pass rush tool belt in a way that really surprised me.
Yeah, he's this is an insane take because of what he ended up doing at the one time in Green Bay. This is like, if you're going to hit your 95th percentile, and I want people to understand this, if you're going to hit your 95th percentile outcome with Barryn Sorrell, he is the answer to the question, what if Zadarius Smith was a good athlete? Because
that's really good, actually. That's perfect. Yeah.
Z was not, they would not have drafted Z.
Right.
They signed Z because he showed what he could do. They would not have drafted Z. He was not that tall. His arms weren't that long, but he lined up across the formation. He would hunt guards for the Packers. Preston would rush off the edge, and Zadarius would go hunt guards that can't pass pro and go directly to the quarterback. Like Sorrell, if you watch his tape, yeah, he wins on the edge, but even at 255, they're kicking him inside, and he's hunting interior linemen that can't stay in front of him. The only difference is Z was a 5'5" Raz guy, and Sorrell is a 9'3". And by the way, that overall score is losing points because he's only 6'3", 255. And he is undersized. If he was 6'5", 260, he'd be a 9'8" Raz guy. He'd be like, you know what I mean? So I just loved watching him work. And it was, why is he not a third-round pick? I mean, why is he not one of the 100 best players in this draft? And look, the NFL obviously agreed. He was pick 124, but I moved him up. He's the only guy on my final. He's literally, and this is no joke, he is the only guy on my final, because I do like to stick to final when I say final. He's the only guy on my final board that I moved up. I edited that Google Doc, and I moved up to, he ended up at 91 overall for me. And I gave him a third round grade, and third round to me means I think you're a starter.
Well, that's the thing. Let's get into that a little bit. I mean, as far as where he fits in the rotation, obviously he's got to get on the grass. He's got to show he can do it. He's got to do it against NFL competition. But you look at the room, and it's been talked about, obviously, ad nauseum all offseason regarding the lack of a pass rush and the lack of real, actual, consistent production along the edge. I mean, I know they're expecting a jump from LVN. They have to. And Kingsley Enagbare, heading into the final year of his rookie deal, I think there's going to be some opportunities here. Obviously, like I said, he's got to do it. He's got to show it. But there should be ample opportunity for him to show what he can do early in the season.
Yeah, I think he's immediately in a one-on-one battle with Brenton Cox for the edge 4 position. And I think he is the long-term replacement, because I don't see a contract extension for Enagbare. I think Enagbare goes, hopefully fetches, one of these, not hilariously dumb, but one of these kind of dumb, free agent deals. And, maybe he has a 5 or 6 sack season. Kingsley Enagbare could find his way to 5 or 6 sacks.
Easily, yeah. I agree.
Somebody give him 10, 3 years, 30. You're getting a darn nice comp pick. Green Bay's not giving him 3 years, 30. So no. I think you're looking at a Kingsley Enagbare replacement right here, and you're looking for 2025, I think, a direct competition with Brenton Cox for the 4th spot. And by the way, they will use 4 guys. I mean, they will start LVN and Gary, and behind them will either be Enagbare and Sorrell or Enagbare and Cox. It just depends on who wins the battle in training camp. Fit, pedigree, athletic ability, this is great. And again, if he was 6'5", 260, he would have gotten taken 2 rounds ago.
Right, absolutely. And I love the fact that he was in Green Bay, that he was the last guy in the green room and was able to come
confusing.
Up. And the fact that when Goodell came out, I was like, wait a second, because, Goodell's done usually by now.
Aren't there 11 Packers legends lined up to announce picks? Why?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, why is Goodell out here? But that makes all the sense in the world. He gets to hug the commissioner, and now he's here.
This guy is here, and
I know. When he said that, I was scratching my head. I'm like, who's left? Like, I was like baffled. I forgot that Sorrell was still like in Green Bay. I thought he came up.
Just take Shadur, and
I know, right? I'm like, wait a second, what is happening? Ross, I absolutely, truly appreciate you jumping on your birthday of all days. Make sure you're checking out Ross's work at Packer Report. We'll have a link in the description of this video. Excited to see what they do for the remainder of day 3 here in the draft. Ross, thanks so much, man.
Thank you, sir.